everyone, welcome to Honey Bee Chinese. Happy 2021. This video was inspired by Youdao which is the post on the left, where they collate the top 10 trending words of 2020, the most searched for words in 2020. And I thought that it would be a good idea to do a video in this, go through some of these words, and keep your Chinese learning very relevant and current. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this video, and as per usual, please click on like and subscribe for more lessons. So we're going to start with number 10 on the list, and number 10 on the list is 喜剧演员, which Youdao has basically said and translated into Gagman. And I haven't really heard of the word Gagman being used in English. Like, I've never really in my day-to-day life said the word Gagman. So gag 即梗段子 Gagman 可以理解为笑料作者、喜剧演员. So basically, 喜剧演员 is a comedian, I would say is the closest meaning. So a lot of people searched up 喜剧演员 and comedian, and not sure why, particularly in 2020, but the explanation on the bottom gives a bit of a reason, and it says 从莎士比亚时代就广受欢迎. So they're saying, it's been popular since Shakespeare. 随着脱口秀大会系列综艺节目的爆火，李雪琴、王建国等脱口秀演员成为了今年的流量红人，吸引了广泛关注。And I think that's probably the main reason why it's so searched for in 2020 is because of the fact that there's this TV show called 脱口秀大会. Now, I don't know what it is. I had to look it up. But I'm guessing the show was very successful and it was very popular. And so people were starting to look up, maybe the comedians in that show or basically comedians in general. And as you can see from the bottom, there are over 1 million searches for it in Youdao. So I thought that it would be useful to show you a little excerpt of a comedian in the show called 脱口秀大会. And just as an FYI, I don't really watch it. I kind of started looking for it on YouTube once I decided to do this video. And so it's quite funny. This guy is called Wang Jianguo. So in English, the show is called Rock and Roast. So I'll definitely leave the link to these videos I've captured in this video in the description below. So you might want to look it up and watch it on your own, watching videos, and especially if you can watch comedians and you can understand the humor in Chinese, that means your Chinese is definitely at a certain level because you can understand why it's funny and why it's witty. But this is a very short excerpt, and I confess I haven't watched a lot of these comedians, and so the one I've chosen is basically because it was at the beginning of the show. I haven't gone down and picked out the best excerpt I think is great. So here we go.
我就说我就别证明了，我都证明过多少回了，对吧？脱口秀大会第1季我取得了第2名，第2季我还取得了第2名，这么多个荣誉加在一起，对吧？领导说对啊，加在一起就是第4名。我说那你咋不除在一起呢？除一下还是第1名呢？
Okay, so that's the end of the video, and basically why that excerpt was funny was because this Wang Jianguo guy, this comedian, he's saying, I've gone on this show twice, and show number 1, I came second, show number 2, I came second. So with all this glory or this honor I've gotten, or recognition I've gotten from these 2 shows, And then he's like, well, my manager said that, yeah, so if you add it together, you came fourth. And then he says, yeah, well, why don't you like just divide two by two, and that means I would have came first, like, so that it's the funny thing is here because his manager's like, well, if you're adding 2 plus 2 equals 4, then you came fourth, and he's like, well, why don't you divide it? Then it's one. So yeah, that's kind of funny. It's kind of witty, I thought. But basically, you can watch this on YouTube. There's quite a few of these videos on YouTube for free as well. So, okay, so number 9 on the list is Mamba. Oh, I'm not sure if that's Mamba. Not sure if that's the tone is correct, the way I'm pronouncing it. Mamba, Manba. Sorry, it's not that I don't know how to pronounce the word. It's just more. So it's not that I'm not sure how to pronounce the word. It's more so we don't. It's not a commonly used word in Chinese, and there's a pinyin for it to help pronounce it. But yeah, as you can see from the description below, the reason why it's kind of a bit of leeway is because Mamba is a direct translation of Kobe Bryant's Mamba mentality, and I never was that um, I never knew that Chinese people were that into Kobe Bryant, but if it's one of the top 10 search for words in Youdao, then it must mean that he's had a significant amount of influence. And as you can see in the descriptions below, it says 2020年1月26日，篮球巨星科比不幸转机致死。人们怀念的科比精神又被称为曼巴精神。科比对此的解读是 passionate 热情 obsessive 执着 relentless 严厉 resilient 不屈 fearless 无惧。And I think, as you can see, so essentially the Mamba is the Mamba mentality, which is termed by Kobe Bryant, the NBA basketball star. And so the Mamba mentality. And it has over 1 million searches. And I couldn't find really like a Chinese version because Kobe Bryant does speak in English. It is largely a very basketball kind of a mentality. And I'm sorry for all those people watching who know a lot about basketball and his Mamba mentality, so this might seem a little juvenile, but for me, like, although I've watched basketball, I wasn't that aware of what Mamba was. So this video is basically giving you a bit of an explanation of where Kobe Bryant tells you, or he explains in his own words, what Mamba mentality means.
Mamba himself, what does Mamba mentality mean?
Well, I mean, to sum up what Mamba mentality means, it means to be on a constant quest to try to be the best version of yourself. Mm-hmm. That's what the mentality is, right? It's not a finite thing, right? It's a constant quest to try to be better today than you were yesterday and be better tomorrow than you were the day before.
And when you hear someone like, Kyrie Irving saying that he needed to channel that Mamba mentality in the finals, I mean, what?
Yeah, so basically, that's what the Mamba mentality is, and apparently a lot of people were searching for it in the Youdao platform, the Youdao search terms. So interesting, I thought. So number 8 on the list is Python. And in the Chinese translation of Python, they've said they haven't really translated. So Python, I guess, if you were taking it literally in English, right, it would have been like something like a snake or something like that. But that's not what's been translated in Chinese. In translation here, they've said Python is the 计算机编程语言, which is, a lot of people are using Python as like a coding language. So Youdao's basically definitely taken the context into its explanation, and it's basically, you know, capturing that meaning, which is, you know, it's not a snake, it's yeah, it's a coding language that people use to write maybe apps or to process data. And so the explanation is 近年来大数据 which is, you know, big data, 人工智能等领域吸引了大量从业者. So big data has attracted a lot of people who are looking for jobs. Python 作为一种编程语言，因其对新手友好、高效、灵活的特点而广泛受欢迎. So it's saying, why is Python the most widely used language as opposed to something maybe like R or SAS or something like that? And then, yeah, so the reason why is because it's user-friendly, like new user-friendly, and it's very quick and efficient and agile. And 疫情期间居家学习的学生工作人群是兴起的一波Python 学习热潮. So there's a trend of they're saying this, there's a trend of learning Python. So yeah, there's close to 2 million searches of the word Python in Youdao dictionary. So here we are. Number 7 on the list is, I think this one isn't too surprising. It's 在线学习. 在线学习, which means e-learning. And as you can imagine, because of the coronavirus in 2020, it probably makes sense why that is such a commonly used word, or commonly searched for words. And the explanation for it is 为因对2020年新冠疫情国内大中小学延期开学，很多学校采用了线上学习的方式，学生在家上网课程为一段时间内的学习新状态 which is saying, you know, this is a new way of learning Chinese. Oh, sorry, not learning Chinese. It's just a lot of 很多学校采用了线上学习 which is a lot of people are using the internet to learn. And, you know, there's more than close to 2.5 million searches for it. So number 6 is Mojito. Mojito. And this one, I was actually, again, I was quite surprised by it. Same as the Mamba thing, the Kobe Bryant's Mamba thing. But the reason why Mojito is such a search for term in 2020 isn't necessarily because everyone loves the cocktail. It's more so, as the Youdao explanation talks about, it's because Jay Chou, which is, he's like a major superstar in China, in case you didn't know, and I'm sorry if you do know, he basically released a song called Mojito last year, and I guess the song is probably very popular, and so yeah, so that's why people were searching for it so much. Like, comes in at number 6 out of all the possible words, and you can see you know, it's a jiweiju, which is a cocktail. It has over 5 million searches. Like, so, you know, I think what was the word before it, like e-learning or something, had only 2.5 million searches. This is like double that. So yeah, Jay Chou is a very influential person. So just to show you an excerpt of the video.
麻烦给我的爱人来一杯 Mojito， 我喜欢给入他微醺时的眼眸，而我的咖啡糖不用太。
Yeah, so that's basically Jay Chou singing Mojito last year. That's just like the first verse. yeah, so you can search it up on YouTube. So that's basically the music video that he was singing to. Um, yeah, so again, so then I then chose this video. This video basically breaks down all the lyrics in Mojito, and I was actually considering doing a video like this myself. But you know, this person, I looked for it on YouTube and I thought like she did such a great job of breaking down the song Mojito and just giving you a bit of an idea of how she breaks the song down. I just think it's very, very good the way she's breaking it down. So if you're learning Chinese and you know you're interested in this song Mojito by Jay Chou, she's incredibly thorough in how she explains and breaks down the song. So I saw the video and I was like, I can't do anything more than she has. There's no point in, you know, me doing a second version of this. So I really, you know, highly recommend you watching this one. But here's a bit of an excerpt.
麻烦 when you look up in a dictionary, you might see to bother, but here it actually means please. I know when you first learn Chinese, you use 请 as please, but actually in daily life we use 麻烦 more often. 麻烦给我的爱人来一杯 Mojito. 爱人 lover 来一杯 Mojito. 来 we use 来 when we order something. 来一份烤饺，来一杯水，来一瓶啤酒。
Yeah, so so again I'll link the video in my description box, but basically this video is done by China's Chinese. I haven't seen any of the rest of her videos. I've only watched this one. I thought this one was really good, so yeah, feel free to enjoy and watch some of her other videos. Okay, so number 5 on the list is, okay, this one's quite, you know, predictable. Quarantine. Quarantine in Chinese, you would say, is 隔离. And basically, as you would know, quarantine or 隔离监狱是防止传染病毒的有效手段之一 which is saying it's one of the best ways of preventing the COVID virus from spreading. Yeah, so usually, you know, it's 14 days, but another word I thought was good in the explanation is 隔离时也因此成为大众耳熟能详的词汇 which is saying, you know, you can hear it and it's very frequently used. So I don't think that it coming in at number 5 was surprising to me at all because it's, you know, that's all kind of we talked about in 2020. If you're going to travel, you need 14 days of quarantine. 自我隔离观察14天, for instance. And the number of searches are close to 7 million, 6.5 mil searches on Youdao. Coming at number 4 on the list is Zoom. So in this explanation, which is they've said it's 一款云式视频会议软件. It hasn't really, again, it's kind of like the Python thing. They haven't given a direct translation. It's taking into the contextual meaning of Zoom, which is they're saying it's a type of software that's being used, a cloud-based software that's being used. But in the explanation, they do tell you what the direct translation of Zoom is, which is 原意是机行急剧增长, which is basically you're zooming in on something. Like, well, for instance, if you're zooming in on the computer, you're 急剧增长, which is your thing is magnifying at a very substantial kind of pace. You're magnifying something and something's getting bigger at a big pace. 也指一款云式会议软件, and it's saying it means to expand, but it also means it's a software that is used to hold video calls. And I'm sure all of us or many of us have used it. It's basically like FaceTime, like Zoom. And yeah, it has over 8 million searches on Youdao. Number 3 on the list, so we're getting close. Again, number 3 on the list is influencer marketing, and in influencer marketing in Chinese is 直播带货. 直播带货. And I was actually, again, I was a little like kind of, surprised by it coming at number 3, but I guess it makes sense. And I guess as part of like if you grew up in a Western society or you're in like Europe or something, be very familiar with influencer marketing, Instagram marketing, using, basically getting someone who's very popular on the internet to help you sell something. So in short, 2020年直播带货大爆发. I would say that it's saying that, in 2020, this type of marketing kind of exploded. I would say it probably started a lot earlier than maybe coronavirus, but maybe coronavirus did help that growth. 爆发网红、明星等在直播带货中发挥巨大的号召力, which is saying, celebrities and live streaming internet personalities have exerted an incredible amount of 号召力, which is like influencing ability. And it's 成为一种非常火热的经济形态, which is like an economic kind of a state, financial state, 和消费模式, the 消费模式, which is saying it's a way of consumer, and it comes in at a close to 20 million searches, which is huge, right? Like number 4 was something like what was number 4? It was like something like quarantine or Zoom or something, and that one came in at 8 million searches. This came in at 19 million searches. So, influencer marketing, huge, both in, I guess, China now and also like Western media. Okay, so we're getting really close. Number 2 on the list is, okay, this one isn't surprising, coronavirus. Coronavirus in Chinese means 冠状病毒. And yeah, so I guess that's not surprising that came in given 2020 was such a huge year, and that's everyone worldwide is talking about coronavirus or 冠状病毒. It's a pandemic, it's not an endemic. So yeah, so it's saying 2020年2月11日 WHO, which is WHO, 世界卫生组织正式将这次新型冠状病毒引起的疾病命为 COVID-19. So who named it COVID-19? And it's saying that 人们的工作、学习、生活都随着发生了巨大的转变, which is saying everyone's lives have undergone a huge change as a result. Like your career's been impacted, your studies been impacted, your life has been impacted as a result of coronavirus. And it comes in at close to 28 million, 27 million searches on Youdao. Okay, so number 1, lucky last, number 1. And number 1 is postpone. And, in Chinese, postpone means 推迟, 推迟. And I guess in some ways it's surprising, but not so, it's not surprising, but it's kind of surprising. Like, especially if you see at the bottom, it has like more than 61 million searches in the search engine, which is huge. It's like the coronavirus only got 27 million, but as you can imagine, as it says, 受疫情影响，奥运会推迟举办, which is saying, the Olympics got postponed. 学校延期开学, which is saying, Yanchi is also meaning postpone. Why wasn't that ranked first? I don't know. It's probably not used as often contextually, but it also means to delay by a term. Like it's the school term has been delayed. 高考时间推迟. So when you're sitting your uni exams, that's been pushed back. 十多大事件 and saying like a lot of big things 都在今年被推迟, which is saying like a lot of big things this year have been postponed. 人们的学习、生活、工作、社交也深受影响. Saying, you know, everyone's work, everything's social life has been impacted. 度过了不平凡的一年. And again, 61 million searches. So postponed is number one on the list. And that's basically the end of my video. So I hope you really enjoyed this video. I hope you learned some relevant vocab through this video. And again, remember, please click on like and subscribe. It really helps support this channel going. And please leave comments on the bottom, or feel free to message me to let me know what kind of videos you might like to watch in the future.